Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's planning committee on Tuesday, the 3rd of December 2024. We'll go straight into, I'd like to remind all members that the meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube later on. First item on the agenda, we have apologies. So far, I have an apology from Councillor Kingston. Are there any others? No? Okay then. Item number 2. Minutes of last meeting held on 5th of November 2024 are here for approval. Can I look for a mover first? Councillor Summers, and a seconder, Councillor Turner. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Oh, sorry, almost so, yeah. Declarations of interest. Before anyone wants to declare anything, I've got to read out the following. I confirm that under section 33.2 of the Localism Act 2011, the Act permits an authority to grant a dispensation from either or both of the restrictions not to participate and or vote on a matter in which they have a pecuniary interest. Planning committee members have received a further dispensation for applications relating to the future High Street project for a period of 2 years starting from the 5th of August 2024 until the 5th of August 2026. Having said that, are there any declarations of interest for this evening? No? Okay. Item number 4, applications for consideration 0220-2024, 27A Market Street, Tamworth, B79 7LR. I'd like to hand over to Glenn Baker Adams to present his report.
Thank you, Chair. So this is for 26 Market Street. It's the demolition of number 26 Market Street and the existing Castle Gateway Bridge, replacement of said bridge with wider landscaping proposed within that area. So hopefully members are familiar with the location. So it's obviously located towards the end of Market Street. Found some historic maps. These are available on the design and access statement that was submitted to the application, showing the evolution of that site over a number of years. Some photos as well, showing you at the top left, you can see 26 Market Street. Obviously a building quite, in our eyes, quite unsightly compared to the historic nature of the buildings surrounding it. You can see the town hall in the far distance as well. Obviously some other pictures here showing the application site within the context of the castle grounds. The bridge obviously on the bottom left picture, and then facing the other way from the town centre towards the castle grounds on the bottom right hand corner. So the proposed works, as I say, there are 3 main principles and parts of this proposal. The new bridge, which will be widened but of the same route, using existing pad stone foundations. Demolition of 26 Market Street, and the construction of a landscaped area within its place, and a brick retaining wall as well. This proposal this proposed drawing shows the elevation and this section through the site, where the bridge will be located in this faint area towards the left here. Landscape, which I'll come to in a second, and the treatment of the elevation of 26A Market Street will be agreed with the schemes to be submitted to the council at a later stage. The layout of the landscaping, so here we've got some indication about how that will look. Balustrading landscaped area to the west, and then more greenery area to the east. Obviously things like archaeological remains will be protected and enhanced. Hedgerow will be relocated towards this side of the site. Existing steps will be retained and resurfaced as well. In terms of the balustrade itself, we're looking at this kind of effect, so this kind of indication of how it will look. These balustrades will be obviously subject, they will be to the relevant codes, obviously make sure they are safe and secure. A couple of artist impressions here showing how the landscaped area will look. As you can see, hopefully we'll freshen up that area, increase visibility and security and safety for that area, which is quite enclosed at the minute. But obviously by removing 26 Market Street, opening that area out, renewed landscaping, lighter paving, etc., will just make that area a bit more inviting and safe and secure for people. But increase that linkage between the town and the Tamworth Castle. All very obviously attractive. Hopefully we'll agree with that. So clear planning issues, we've got principle, obviously it's within the town centre location, established with the High Street scheme being an important part of that proposal. Character and appearance, hopefully we agree it's a very satisfying environment, more welcoming, meeting a lot of our design ambitions. Heritage-wise, we've consulted relevant consultees, conservation officer, very happy with the scheme. Amenity, we don't really have a neighbouring property in terms of residential, but neighbouring businesses hopefully will see the benefits of increasing that connectivity between the town and the castle grounds beyond. There are obviously some highway implications in terms of deliveries of the relevant materials that are going to be brought on site, but that will be conditioned through construction management plans at a later stage, agreeing all them details, which again will be consulted on with the relevant highways authority. So yeah, we've obviously looked at all these issues and deemed them to be satisfactory, and therefore approval is recommended with conditions that are at the end of the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Are there any questions? Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thanks for the report and the images as well. First question: what steps are being taken to minimise the environmental impact of the demolition and construction? And is there any specific support during this phase for businesses who might well be impacted?
So, there is a demolition plan that's available as part of the background papers, but what we won't be doing is bringing in a wrecking ball and just demolishing it in that way. It's a very difficult site, very constrained. It's got a lot of heritage around it. And also it's on the high street as well. So there's a lot of constraints. So it's going to be almost a brick by brick type demolition so that we can remove it very carefully and very sensitively in that space. And we're also next to some grade 2 listed buildings as well. A lot of concerns are how the nationwide building and how the relationship with the grade 2 listed buildings sort of coexist. And for that reason, it's going to be a very sensitive demolition process. So that's all outlined in the background report. Hopefully that answers that part of the question. In terms of compensation for local businesses, that's not a planning material consideration for us at committee. Thank you.
Councillor Summers.
Thank you. I know this isn't also a material consideration, but however, might be prudent to raise this now. That area is a magnet for litter, and I was just wondering, as part of the works, whether it could be considered to put some netting or mitigation for the litter, so that we don't have to keep sending people down there to clear up people's mess. It shouldn't have to happen, but sadly, it's the world we live in.
So we did increase the scope of the Future High Street Fund work slightly by including a better means of access to get down there, because that's one of the issues. It's very difficult to get the litter out, and it causes quite a challenge for the street scene or clean team to do that. So we are putting in something that's much safer for them to do it, so that the frequency of cleaning can be improved to improve that area more generally. So no, there won't be netting. What we are looking at doing is improving that general environment as well, because it does look like somewhere where you'd want to throw something. It's not a very attractive place. So what we'll be doing is removing the pavers that aren't particularly nice, putting in greenery, improving it by lighting, etc. And hopefully it will be a public realm that people can be more proud of as well, not feel the need to do that. But to answer your question directly, no to netting, but yes to the ability to clean that area more successfully, more frequently.
Before I let you in, Councillor Coates, I think, Councillor Summers, did you want to come?
Yeah, just briefly mention lighting. The feature lighting going to be upgraded and installed around the, pick out wall features and generally given a nice spruce up as well.
Okay, I've got Councillor Coates and then Councillor Claymore.
Mine's just in which one's correct. I'm pretty sure I know it. On the thing it says 0033/2024. Is that the correct one? Because on the paperwork it says 0033/2023. I'm guessing it's the 23 one, but I'm just double checking because obviously in front of me it says 24.
Yep, 2-3. Thanks. Councillor Claymore?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Well, I'm sure as we all know that that area, that street is used a lot by vehicles that really shouldn't be there. So what is going to happen? Are we going to have some sort of mitigation for that? Are we going to have somebody restricting the parking there for the businesses that aren't supposed to be parking?
Again, so that falls outside the scope of the application in terms of how the transport's controlled through the town centre. County Council are currently doing amending the traffic regulation order for Tamworth. That's something that's been going on for some time. I understand that's continuing, and that will look at access, parking, restrictions, etc. But it doesn't fall within the scope of the application.
I've got Councillor Smith and then I'll have Councillor Clark.
Yeah, just for residents with accessibility issues potentially. Other than the widening of the walkway, are there any other ways that it will improve accessibility for people with disabilities or mobility issues at all?
So yes, a much wider bridge to just facilitate two-way flow of pedestrians far more easily. It will be an enhanced public realm, and that public realm ultimately, although not part of this application, will run through the town centre very successfully up through to St Editha Square. And that application was approved recently by this committee, and that looks at regrading that space and making it more accessible. So it just forms part of a much bigger project to just generally improve how people can move around the town successfully, and also with this particular application, move more successfully between the castle grounds. We have lots of events, we have the castle, etc., play park for children, and move them back into the town for other needs that they might have.
Councillor Clark?
Thank you. The hole underneath is, of course, the lower lodge, as was, because we have an upper lodge shop, and that was the lower lodge, and there was archaeological interest in it, but not a lot was found. However, it is worth preserving. Would you be, would council be happy for organisation to put a label up? Because if you put some kind of sign up to indicate this was the lower lodge, that might add interest to the site. It is a heritage site after all. Well, I know
There is, I don't know if you can see it, but just above Glenn's head here, at the bottom right-hand corner, there will be a new interpretive panel to.
Any other questions? Councillor Smith?
Yeah, focusing on risks, and particularly around sort of financial risks, I suppose, but just any risk in general, and extending on to what Councillor Summers mentioned about sort of the litter and stuff. Is there foreseen to be a higher maintenance of that area post completed works to what we currently have at the moment?
So, I mean, what the works will do is replace a bridge that will have a lifespan that would need to be replaced at some point in the future. The pavers are failing. We can see that they're sort of slowly moving down the sides. The planting that will go in they're designed to be low maintenance shrubs, so that our street team won't have to go in all the time and be clearing them out and pruning, etc. So from that perspective, I think I don't think it adds any burden to us, and actually it replaces infrastructure and updates it, and we would have had to have done that ourselves in the future anyway as a borough council.
Any other questions? Councillor Smith?
Yeah, and lastly, in regards to the timeline of this, what's the expected timeline for the completion and the demolition phases?
So If you'd asked me that question this morning, I would give you an answer. But as with everything Future High Street Fund, things move along quite quickly. It's very challenging for me to say now. It will be in the new year. We were looking at January, but it might not be January. We've got some reprogramming to do as a consequence of delays, and that's because the contractor for Nationwide and its fit out was delayed. So that's had a knock-on effect on this part of the programme. It doesn't mean we can't do the demolition a bit quicker, but the actual bridge works might take a bit longer. Sorry, that's the other way around. Start on the bridge works, but the demolition bit, we might start a bit later. But I think there's a discussion that we need to have as a programme team about efficiencies in the programme with both of those two aspects. So it will be in the new year-ish, is probably the best that I can give you for a start date.
Do you want to come back on that one, Councillor Smith? Yep.
Yeah, sorry if I didn't catch that. So in terms of when it actually starts, both those construction and the actual build, how long roughly would they take from the point of starting?
I think that's going to depend on the efficiencies that we have in the programme, which we need further discussion over. We're probably looking at, with the replacement of the bridge in itself, we'll have to probably close that pedestrian route for a couple of months to allow for that particular bit to go ahead. Probably in total, it's probably about a 4-month programme, I think. But that might change, so I don't want to say it definitively because there are conversations going on that might change that.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, going on that line of timelines for a bridge, no bridge or access into the castle grounds for a 4-month possible period, what mitigation will be put in place to make sure that that doesn't coincide with events that we're trying to put on in the castle grounds and therefore restricting access?
I mean, it's not part of the application. Obviously, it's not within scope of planning, but to provide that reassurance, we have an internal delivery team meeting, which includes arts and events team. We have an internal programme board for Future High Street Fund, and those are the types of issues that we would raise with that. But there will be a pedestrian mitigation strategy to signpost people around the town centre when the bridge is not in operation.
Any other questions? Councillor Pallett.
When you're doing the new bridge, it says it's going to be wider. The bridge we've got at the moment, either side, and Margaret will probably be able to help me on this. We've got some archaeology, are we going to cover that, or will we still see that?
So when I say that the bridge is going to be wider, if you can picture the bridge, you've got a wide bit and then it narrows. Basically, where it narrows, it goes to the same width as the rest of it, so it will all be the same width. So we're not going really big. And the reason why is because the scheduled ancient monument that sits beneath it prevents us from doing anything different. And it's been quite a challenge, actually, to even be able to do even a small bridge width amendment and keep it in such a way that we're not impacting upon the archaeology and the heritage that already sits there. So you will still see everything that you see now. That's really important. If anything, it will be improved because it will be sat in a better public realm to view it. Okay.
Any other questions? Councillor Smith?
It's actually pretty much a comment, if that's okay. So just adding to what Councillor Turner was saying about the events and stuff, that is a concern that we have got the possibility that it could affect events. Because I understand it last year when the fireworks were being planned, there was a concern that having reduced access, should we say, would potentially impact or cancel that particular event. I understand, obviously, that's a huge event with lots of people. But I'll just ask if any, whether that be mitigation or risk assessments are done in terms of the effect it might well have on events, which obviously add to the local economy and all the rest of it. If we can be kept up to date with any impact along the way, considering that the proposed works, there seems to be a lot of nuance and a lot of possibility that it might well be shortened or extended or whatever. So if I'd just ask if we're kept up to date, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions? I think I've got one myself, and obviously this is just a general one. When it talks to obviously the work's going ahead, the comms will be in place to let the public know, especially just so they're aware. It's not just signs in the town.
Yeah, so just to reassure, we do have an engagement plan for various of the projects, so that we're engaging with stakeholders appropriately and at the right time. We also have a comms plan, so that we are engaging in the right way on the right sort of social medias and platforms, etc. So yes, there'll be a lot of comms around this one.
Any other questions before we move to comments on the application? No. Does anyone want to speak on this application? I'll take that as a no. Right then. As stated before, the recommendation is to approve with conditions on this application. I am looking for a mover, Councillor Lewis Smith, and a seconder, Councillor Margaret Clark. All those in favour? That is unanimous and carried. Thank you very much. And we move on to the final agenda item, number 5, which is updates to planning from the officers. And
Thank you. So we just had one appeal recently that you might be interested in, a residential extension, but officers did refuse the application because we just basically thought it was too big, and thankfully the inspector did agree with us and dismissed the appeal. Yeah, agreeing with us the extension was indeed too big. That appeal decision can be available to view on the Planning Inspectorate website. It's 184 Kettlebrook Road. And the second thing, hopefully you've got the invitation to visit the college site for the redevelopment proposals. So if we can meet at the top of Cross Street, those who do want to attend, that'd be great. And hopefully we may have Mark Evans as well with us from the Highways team as well, so we can ask any questions, or think of any questions, then he'll be there to answer them for you. Thank you.
thank you very much, Glenn. I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance this evening and thank those watching at home. That concludes the business of this meeting, and I close at 18:27. Thank you. Have a good evening.